Ladies and gentlemen, smash that like button if you think South African citizens should come first in South Africa. Share this with anyone who believes in common sense immigration policy. Subscribe because we are speaking truth that others will never touch. All right, my little boogers, we need to talk about this SAHRC drama, the South African Human Rights Commission drama, because I don't know what planet they are living on. The South African Human Rights Commission, you see, just came for Panyaza Lesufi because he wants to demolish 400 illegal settlements at 2 a.m. And they're acting like he's planning some kind of humanitarian disaster. But here's my question. Since when did illegal become a protected status that destroys citizen? Since when did breaking the law become a human right? I'm not saying we should be cruel to people. I'm not saying we should torture anyone. But can we please use some basic common sense here? If someone is in your country illegally, living in an illegal settlement, the solution isn't to protect the illegality, it is to address it properly. So the SAHRC uses Lesufi to enforce the law and maintain order, and then their response is essentially, hey, no, you can't remove people who aren't supposed to be here from places they are not supposed to be living. That's like calling the fire department racist for putting out fires because it disturbs people who enjoy watching things burn. They want to be like that dog in the meme. Everything is okay. The logic is so broken, it needs its own repair shop. These people are living in illegal settlements. They are undocumented migrants. The key word here is illegal, not underprivileged, not marginalized, not disadvantaged, illegal. But somehow the SAHRC has decided that being illegal is now a protected class that deserves institutional defense. Make it make sense. Here's some revolutionary thinking that apparently the SAHRC hasn't considered. What if, and hear me out, we prioritized people who are actually here legally? Crazy concept, right? What if we actually put South Africans first and then legal immigrants and refugees who followed proper procedures, and then maybe possibly if there is capacity, we can start to discuss how to help people who broke the law to get here. It's like being upset at a restaurant that serves paying customers before people who snuck in through the back door. The audacity is actually very, very impressive. You know what America is doing right now? I'll give you an example. They are deporting illegal immigrants, not because they hate foreigners, but because they are illegal immigrants. The math is simple. If you're not supposed to be here, you can't stay here. Imagine me getting into an exam room with no permit or ID. I'm taken out, not because they hate me. I'm not supposed to be there. No one is talking about throwing people off cliffs or feeding them to the lions like Daniel in the Bible. They are saying, you broke the law by coming here illegally, so you need to go through the proper legal channels. If you don't want to, we cannot help you. That is not cruelty. It's called having borders. It's called having laws. It's called being a functional country. Here's what's really frustrating though about this whole situation. The SAHRC is more concerned about illegal immigrants than they are about the South African citizens who are affected by illegal settlements. What about the South Africans who can't access services because they're overwhelmed? What about the legal residents whose communities are being destabilized? What about the taxpayers who fund the SAHRC's salaries while watching their own rights get ignored? Apparently, their human rights don't matter because they have the wrong documentation. South African documentation. The SAHRC loves to hide behind human rights language, but whose human rights are we talking about here? What about actual South Africans' rights to live in South Africa and live in communities with proper infrastructure? What about their right to access services their taxes pay for? What about their right to have immigration laws enforced? Apparently, those human rights don't count because they belong to people who are here legally. How backwards is that? Let me spell this out clearly because the SAHRC seems confused. Legal immigrants and refugees, welcome. You followed the rules, you are here properly, you deserve protection and support. Illegal immigrants, you broke the law. That doesn't make you evil, but it does mean you cannot stay until you fix your legal status. Simple. This isn't complicated. Countries have borders for a reason. Immigration laws exist for a reason. The SAHRC acting like these distinctions don't matter is peak institutional stupidity. The SAHRC is upset about the 2 a.m. demolition timing, acting like this is some kind of human rights violation. You weren't calling us out when we're busy transporting refugees to the USA. But you know what? When you're doing something illegal, you don't get to choose convenient business hours for the consequences. Tell me if I'm telling lies. If I'm robbing a bank, then I can't complain that the police arrested me when they broke into my house at 3 a.m. and I was eating knickknacks. If you're living somewhere illegally, you don't get to schedule when the law will get enforced on you. That's not cruelty, it's reality. For once, a South African politician is trying to do something logical: enforce immigration law, remove illegal settlements, restore order to communities, prioritize legal residents, and the SAHRC's response is to attack him for it? They are literally opposing law enforcement because it affects people who broke the law. It's like being angry at traffic cops for giving speeding tickets because it unfairly targets people who drive too fast. And here's the radical idea. What if we enforced our immigration laws properly from the beginning, so we don't end up with 400 illegal settlements that need emergency demolition? What if we had secure borders that prevented illegal entry? What if we processed legal immigration efficiently so people didn't feel the need to come illegally? What if we actually helped legal immigrants integrate while firmly rejecting illegal immigration because this country has rules to follow? But that would require the South African Human Rights Commission to support law enforcement instead of opposing it. Apparently, that is too much to ask. Here's the beautiful irony though. South African taxpayers fund the South African Human Rights Commission's salaries so that they can oppose policies that protect South African taxpayers. We are literally paying people to argue against our own interests. We are funding an organization that prioritizes illegal immigrants over the citizens who pay their bills. That's like paying a security company to help burglars break into your house more efficiently. While the SAHRC is busy protecting illegal settlements, the rest of the world is watching South Africa fail to manage basic governance functions like immigration control. Countries with functional immigration systems are looking at us like, why don't they just enforce their own laws, the laws they made? But we don't enforce our laws because our Human Rights Commission thinks breaking the law is a human right. You want to know what's actually a human rights violation? Forcing South African citizens to compete with illegal immigrants for services, jobs, and housing, while their own Human Rights Commission sides with the people who broke the law to get here. That is the real injustice in this situation. I have a simple challenge for the South African Human Rights Commission. Name one country in the world that prioritizes illegal immigrants over legal residents and is considered a successful nation. Just one. I'll wait. A functional country on earth that enforces immigration law is functional because they understand that having borders and rules isn't cruel. It's necessary for stability, security, and fairness. Here's the common sense solution I'm going to give you. Number one, secure our borders. Prevent illegal entry in the first place. Number two, process legal immigration efficiently. Make the legal route faster and easier. Number three, enforce immigration law. Remove people who are here illegally, but do it safely and humanely. Number four, prioritize citizens and legal residents. Their rights come first, always. Number five, reform the SAHRC so that they actually protect South Africans' human rights. The South African Human Rights Commission is protecting illegal immigrants at the expense of South African citizens. That is not human rights advocacy. That is institutional betrayal of the people they are supposed to serve. We can be compassionate without being stupid. We can be humane without ignoring our own laws like idiots. We can help people without prioritizing lawbreakers over law abiders. But that requires common sense. And apparently, that's in short supply at the South African Human Rights Commission. What do you think? Should South African citizens come first in South Africa? Should we enforce our immigration laws or just ignore them? Drop your thoughts, because this conversation needs to be had. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe in putting citizens first. Share with anyone who thinks the SHRC has lost the plot. Subscribe because we are not afraid to say what needs to be said. We are aiming for 100K subs before the end of the year. Let's make it happen. This is the Summer Sambit, and like always, I'll see you next time.